So we had to wait 2 weeks for this fight, but we finally got it. Sanji versus Doflamingo. And this episode opened up quite a couple different questions and a couple different things to talk about and discuss amongst fans of the One Piece anime. For starters, pretty much in the fight, Sanji versus Doflamingo, Sanji, he was trying to put in work, and you could totally see he was going in. He was like, you ain't fucking with my peoples. Now, from what we've gathered thus far, from what we've seen with Doflamingo, he seemingly whipped the fuck out of Smoker, but he kind of was a little weary about going up against Aokiji, former admiral, and he's also pretty much at the beck and call of Kaido, one of the emperors. So that makes you question, where exactly is Doflamingo? He's clearly above, for the most part, a lot of the vice admirals, because Smoker's up there as far as vice admirals go, and he's clearly above him. But then, compared to the admirals, maybe he's just slightly below an admiral. Maybe it's just too troublesome to go up against an admiral. So he's somewhere around there. Now, Sanji, for the most part, let's keep it real in this episode, while it was epic as fuck, and I was like, yo, Zoro be getting some badass moments, but this was Sanji's, and he was going all in. He had his fucking leg on fire. But Doflamingo really was going to take him. If it wasn't for Law coming in there using room, Sanji probably would have bit the big one. So it definitely had to be a combination of these two, and they just barely were able to escape it. It almost looked as though they were backed against the wall against Doflamingo. So as far as like where I'm looking at right now, where's his power level at, Sanji, I definitely would say he's at the very least above slightly, or maybe equal to Vice Admiral. But he's definitely not at admiral level yet. I truly don't see it, because like he looked like for the most part he was going to get taken out, and it was a quick fight. It wasn't that long of a fight. I mean, it all happened within the span of this episode. I mean, the initial clash happened at the end of last week's episode, or week before that, you get what I mean, last episode. But the contents of this fight pretty much all revolved within this episode, and again, Sanji, while he was going in, Doflamingo had him and was going to take him out pretty quickly. So that's where I'm guessing like Sanji's power level is at right now. Again, not all vice admirals are of the same strength or the same caliber. Likewise with the admirals, for the most part. I mean, you know, they had a fucking clash, and at the end of the day, Aokiji didn't come out on top against Akainu, and who knows how fucking strong Kizaru is. So you can't really say exactly, but that's where I'm gauging Sanji at this particular point, because he clearly was outclassed by Doflamingo. Let's be honest here, people. As much as we love our boy Sanji, Black Leg just wasn't going to take him down. But overall, it was still awesome to see him try to go up against him, and it was just a nice little clash. Art looked absolutely gorgeous in a lot of scenes. Animation, though, you got to separate the two. In certain spots, just really wasn't looking up to par. Like when Doflamingo was in air, he kind of like spinned his head around a little bit, and it looked like Flash animation, no joke. So the art looked really good. It, like, you know, they made it look really pretty, but the animation, the movement, and everything was just subpar at best at certain spots, and just kind of looked bad in certain spots as well. And it really makes you wonder just how strong is Admiral Fujitora, if he can fucking be sitting there sipping on noodles and shit with his ship in the air and just like not giving a fuck while he's like shooting cannons at these people. It's like, how fucking strong is this guy if he's just chilling there, and at the same time his intuition is really fucking strong? If he's there like in the middle of a battle right then, he's like, no, we gotta go back to Dressrosa. So definitely makes you question Fujitora as well. Again, this episode arose a lot of different questions as far as strength goes, and just things all around the board. And another thing that this episode brought forth is seemingly Law's kind of allegiance with the Straw Hats and whatnot. He kind of throws it down that in this week's episode. He was like, I mainly teamed up with them to take your ass down. I wanted to fucking see you squeal at Kaido's feet. And that definitely makes you back to question, okay, what's going on? He clearly, at the end of this episode, drops a bombshell that Doflamingo did something 13 years ago to piss him this much off, that he lied about everything, and this was all really him trying to take revenge against Doflamingo. So what the fuck happened 13 years ago is a huge question that this episode brought forth. And I felt like a lot of interesting exposition within this episode. Questions arose, a couple different things that was brought forth. We got some progression, the fight went through, and it was just really doing some epic shit in the beginning of this episode. Middle of the episode, in certain parts, it was just kind of like it went to a comedic aspect, which I did have a laugh. I ain't gonna lie about that with the Bartholomew stuff. We just did, oh, Zoro. I think they dragged it out a little bit too much, but I always find that funny, because again, it's just a reflection of hardcore One Piece fans and how we always fucking act with these characters. The Rebecca bit I honestly didn't care for, and it just felt like, ooh, yay, Rebecca, she could take out fodder. Seriously. But as a whole, for a One Piece episode, I gotta say this was pretty damn good, and way better than some of the episodes we've been getting recently with One Piece, so I'm glad bad about that. First half of this episode was kicking fucking ass. Second part, it was comedic, and then it was just trying to add more character to Rebecca. Like, you know, she beat all this fodder, and you still see fodder fights going on in there. So it was like, they were trying, but ultimately it was like, who the fuck cares if Rebecca can beat fodder? Let's see her fight one of the, people that we actually know at the very least. Like, even if it's just one of the people like the Blue Gillies of the fucking arena or something like that. That'd be better. But nonetheless, a lot of good questions and some progression in this one. And just overall, it was a fucking epic beginning. Sanji versus Doflamingo and Law having to jump in is like, you don't get that much more epic than that. So for One Piece, I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10. It was a very good episode of One Piece. I enjoyed it. That's one of the big things about it, because with One Piece anime, even sometimes it'll be like a good ep or a decent ep, but a lot of times it'll be like, oh, it was so slow that it sucked the enjoyment out. And to be fair, this episode did do a lot of that, slowing shit down. We're looking at the sky for 10 seconds straight, but nonetheless, it was still very enjoyable, and overall, it was just a pretty damn good episode of One Piece. A lot of questions, exposition, and just overall, it's like, Sanji, bro, you tried your hardest. I give you respect. But let me know what you thought of the episode. First of all, where do you think that this kind of tells where Sanji's power is at? Is he like in between Admiral and Vice Admiral? I feel like the Straw Hats, for the most part, are all around there in that fucking gray area, whereas like they're slightly stronger than the Vice Admirals, but they're not quite Admiral level, and Doflamingo seems to be real close to Admiral level. Also, any theories on what happened 13 years ago to make Law this fucking angry and want to fucking destroy Doflamingo's life? And your overall thoughts of the episode. I'm really glad to say that this episode was leaps and bounds above some of the previous episodes. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm Neverworld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. So we had to wait 2 weeks for this fight, but we finally got it. Sanji versus Doflamingo. And this episode opened up quite a couple different questions and a couple different things to talk about and discuss amongst fans of the One Piece anime. For starters, pretty much in the fight, Sanji versus Doflamingo, Sanji, he was trying to put in work, and you could totally see he was going in. He was like, you ain't fucking with my peoples. Now, from what we've gathered thus far, from what we've seen with Doflamingo, he seemingly whipped the fuck out of Smoker, but he kind of was a little weary about going up against Aokiji, former admiral, and he's also pretty much at the beck and call of Kaido, one of the emperors. So that makes you question, where exactly is Doflamingo? He's clearly above, for the most part, a lot of the vice admirals, because Smoker's up there as far as vice admirals go, and he's clearly above him. But then compared to the admirals, maybe he's just slightly below an admiral. Maybe it's just too troublesome